What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video, I want to talk about Stalker 2's first day out, and this entire day, kind of recap it, because there was actually quite a bit that happened. Now, I want to be, upfront and honest. Like, I haven't played the game yet. I'm looking forward to playing it. Problem is, I didn't pre-install it, and it's like, 150 gigs plus 146, 48, whatever it is, gigabyte day one update, right? So, I mean, this thing is freaking enormous. I'm probably going to have to delete Call of Duty just to make room for it. So, again, let's recap the day, and let's really start right at the beginning, right? So review scores came out, and I mean, all these things kind of connect, right? Because review scores come out, and it didn't actually get what, I mean, like myself personally, I mean, look, we've talked about review, like the actual scores and what I think of them and what I think about all that, but, when I see a 72, you'd like to see it be higher than a 72, right? And that's the last I checked. Maybe it's been changed, and honestly, maybe it changes as the days go on, because I do think the difference between Stalker 2 without that patch and then Stalker 2 with that patch might be like an entire point, right? So like 72, but if a patch is installed, is it like an 82, is it like an 85 or even higher? And that was kind of a big part to it, right? Because you look at the reviews, and at least to me, I don't know about you guys, you can let me know in the comments, a lot of what I saw was the performance, that this is, now, that kind of ranged from person to person, right? I think some people maybe played it without the patch entirely. Some played like right at the tail end, like right when the patch came out. They got to do like a couple hours, but they played most of the game without the patch, and they either changed their score because of what they saw with the patch or not. The thing is, I do think most of them that gave scores today did not experience, let's say, the full game, right? If they got the game a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there's no way they experienced the full game with the patch. In fact, they experienced most of the game without the patch, and then it's hard to compare and contrast. That's a big issue. It definitely is. Like, each game is a little bit different, and it's definitely not the first game to kind of be like a Hail Mary type save because of a day one patch, but it's gigantic. And again, it does depend, I would say, on like the review that you saw, but there are a couple of them that talk about like some of the worst performance kind of issues you've seen in a game, maybe this entire generation, the last 5, 6, 7, even plus, maybe going back to PS4, Xbox One. It's really bad. Now, actually, I mean, well, in a sense, it makes me more interested to try it out. I will say, like, when it comes to resolution and like visuals and stuff, look, like as time goes on, as I get older and as I continue to play more and more old games, right? I have a whole third channel dedicated to that. Visuals and stuff like that, I'm less hard on. I can play a game from 2008, whatever, and try and I really do think I do a pretty good job at it to like go back into that era and say, okay, let's not have the visuals be like the main discussion. Sometimes visuals are a big part of a game, right? So you have to kind of weigh that. But so I guess what I'm saying, I'm not a huge stickler for like how the game looks, but big, huge bugs, can be a pretty big problem, right? Like if your game is crashing, if things are clipping through things, and it's just massively like right in front of your face, it's very hard to ignore, then yeah, I could see that, impacting it. So I guess on one side of things, I am interested to see, does that day one patch fix everything? And that's something I guess I could probably learn not even by playing it, although I do want to play it to experience it as well. But then another thing to worry about / I guess think about too is like, well, how long is this going to take, right? Because it's honestly, from the reviews, at least early on, I do want to talk about like player numbers, because the end of the story is that the game's doing quite good, right? But the beginning of the story, I wonder how long it's going to take, because I have seen a lot of people say this is kind of the prime game to wait on. Like, it's a very good game, foundationally solid, right? But like without patches or without the patches fixing everything, it's not worth your time. And that's kind of, depending, I think like Skill Up was something like that too, right? Where he said like, I sadly don't recommend, or whatever he said. So, it does again depend on which review. I saw one that did call it like the worst performance bugs that they've like ever experienced. So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know. Like, is it a week? Is it a month? Is it 2 months? How long do you have to wait? If you want to go in, if you're willing to like let it sit, right? Like you have it, or it's on Game Pass, so it's like it doesn't hurt you to wait on it a bit, right? And you say, okay, well, I want to play it, but I want to play it when it's like a complete thing and when I'm not going to like fall through the world and stuff. How long is that going to take? And that's something that I'm sure we'll probably start to have some good guesses on, as the days go. But again, jumping to the end of the story is the game obviously releases, and that was another thing with the review scores where it's like, it's become more and more common to do review scores the day before, and I'm not, sometimes that can mean bad things. And I will tell you, 10, 15 years ago, if games got the reviews dropped the day before, massively a red flag, right? Like you would look at it and say, okay, that's a big problem. But that is because, honestly, I do think like internet spoilers and all that kind of stuff, leaks and whatnot, I think that's become more just a thing that happens. So that's why I think they do it personally. There's plenty of very, very, very good games that have review scores dropped the day before. But what you don't actually see all that often is review scores dropped the day of. I mean, honestly, even in like this new age where scores do come out so close to the game, normally is not the day of. Normally that's a weakness. Normally that's still that red flag that a day before was a red flag 10 years ago. It's a red flag now. And, again, like I think the main thing that's taken away from the scores is it's a pretty solid game. It's just, can you play it or not? But then again, I think relatively like good end of the story. So like right now when I'm recording this, it's got 83,413 players. It peaked 4 hours ago, again, my time, at 113 and basically and a half, right? 113,000. I mean, that's really good. And even, the likes to dislikes or, positive reviews, negative reviews, 76.78%. So, 1 in every 4 don't like it. Pretty good. Like, it's not, that's not like spectacular in terms of the actual reviews. But I don't know. I've seen plenty of games on Steam. I like going on Steam database for all sorts of different stuff. A lot of games live in that like high 70s, low 80s, even some of like the most popular games. I was doing a thing a couple days ago just for fun. I was looking at like live service games that are like in the top, let's say like 50 in the world, right, at any given point. And I was clicking on them and looking at the scores. I mean, like scores you don't really see a lot of Steam games that have like 90 plus. At least I haven't. And 113,000, 80 plus thousand still playing it. Really good. Now it's, it's a Wednesday too. And, games like generally Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, like those are the big ones. So I don't think that's the peak, to be honest with you. I feel like, you're probably going to see it. I normally say like Saturdays, and Saturdays generally are the days at peak. I mean, I think this game could easily get 150 plus. And the thing is, actually, the final thing to kind of say, correct me if I'm wrong, but like those numbers would not reflect Game Pass, right? Like these are people that buy it. And that to me signals something really, really good for Microsoft, Xbox, whatever you want to say, because I imagine the game's going to do quite okay on Game Pass, right? I mean, they're different genres, so it's like hard to like compare and stuff, but like, you had indie, or you're going to have indie, right? But you had like COD and stuff, and COD obviously is going to sell, but that also has Game Pass to really, really help it. I always imagine Stalker 2 would easily do the lowest. Now, that's probably not true, to be honest with you. I wonder, like, sales, just pure sales, right? For indie and then for Stalker, before indie gets to PS5, let's say that, right? Like, let's kind of limit it. I actually feel like at this point, based off of those numbers, I feel like Stalker is going to beat indie. And maybe I was just like kind of wrong in my assumptions. I would have actually expected indie to beat Stalker. I didn't think Stalker would be this big. I know Stalker is popular, and I know people have been waiting for this for a very, very long time. Maybe I should have leaned into that more, right? Because there is that want. There has been that want for a long time. And I do think like the game has like skyrocketed on like the wish list, and then of course pre-orders and stuff like that. So it always was pretty popular. Maybe I kind of just didn't look at it hard enough, but I'd say those are pretty good numbers. And again, I think you're easily going to get 150 plus. I wonder if you can hit like 200,000 by like the weekend. It's not going to happen on like Thursday. It might probably not even happen on Friday. I do think you have to wait till the weekend to get the all-time high, but pretty good. So an eventful day. I'm very excited. I got to download the thing, and I have an Ethernet cable. I have pretty good internet, so I'm going to hook that thing up, and hopefully I can download in like an hour or so instead of like 15 hours, and hopefully I can play it tonight. I'll probably try to do some videos over the next couple days. I'm probably going to be terrible at it, but I kind of want to come at it from an angle of like a beginner, somebody who's never played these games before is playing Stalker 2. So if you're interested in that kind of coverage and those kind of videos, I will be doing that over the next couple days. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, all that jazz, and I hope to see you all on the next one.